Hello, this is the TradeTech Forex market preview and international economic data roadmap for the week beginning Sunday, the 28th of October, ending Friday, November 2nd, as we enter the last 2 months of the year, close out October, get through Halloween, get to the time changes next weekend. Let's look at the dollar index here, very near all-time highs for the year, rallied a bit here and trying to break out. We'll see how that goes. Here's the euro dollar. We'll go through the daily charts and then we'll look at the intraday action. Here's the euro dollar. Not much there. Pound dollar. Um, same deal, heading lower near lows. Obviously, it's a base breakdown. If it cracks the lows, so is the euro. Aussie dollar swept the lows this week and couldn't go anywhere. It's been kind of narrow, almost untradeable. The euro yen dipped. The pound yen dipped and actually made some money there. And the New Zealand dollar didn't do much this week. Here's a look at the euro dollar intraday. This is 30-minute candles for the week. High to low is about 200 pips. You had a decent move first up and down on Monday. Tuesday was flat. Another decent move Wednesday on some news. Thursday was mostly flat until that news, and then Friday a little bit of back and forth. The pound dollar for the week about 300 pips, which is decent enough. I mean, we did all right, but there were a couple of days where none of our trades even triggered, which is kind of weird to see at this time of year. So it is what it is. We'll keep going, plugging away. Let's look at the economic data coming out this week. Retail sales out of Japan Sunday night. New home sales out of Australia. Going into Monday, net lending to individuals out of the UK and mortgage approvals. Europe's got their economic forecast. CB realized sales out of the UK. Core PCE price index and personal income and spending here in the US to kick off the week. Loan officer survey. And then we've got the unemployment rate out of Japan Monday night, building approvals out of Australia. Europe's got their French flash GDP and preliminary German CPI numbers. French consumer spending out of Europe. Spanish flash CPI, German unemployment change. Italian preliminary GDP, European preliminary flash GDP, Italian 10-year bond auction. We've got the S&P 20 housing price index at 9 a.m. Eastern time Tuesday here in the U.S., and then consumer confidence at 10. Going to Tuesday night, building consents out of New Zealand, preliminary industrial production out of Japan, consumer confidence out of the UK, CPI out of Australia, along with their private sector credit, China's manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI numbers. Bank of Japan has their rate announcement, consumer confidence, housing starts out of Japan, and then the Bank of Japan press conference as we head into Wednesday here in the U.S. German retail sales, French preliminary CPI, Spanish flash GDP, Credit Suisse economic expectations, Italian monthly unemployment rate, CPI out of Europe, Italian preliminary CPI, the unemployment rate out of Europe. That's a lot of data right there at 6 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. We've got GDP, RMPI, IPPI, and the employment cost index out of Canada. ADP non-farm employment change here in the U.S. Chicago PMI here in the U.S. Crude oil inventories at 10:30. AIG manufacturing index out of Australia. Trade balance and import-export prices out of Australia. Final manufacturing PMI numbers out of Japan. Caxin manufacturing PMI out of China. 10-year bond auction out of Japan. Commodity prices out of Australia. SECO consumer climate out of Switzerland. UK's got their nationwide HPI. We got France and Italy on bank holiday on Thursday. Swiss CPI comes out. Manufacturing PMI out of Switzerland comes out, and then UK's number 2. Challenger job cuts out of the US. 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. We've got a rate announcement out of the UK at 8 a.m. Eastern time. On Thursday, we've got preliminary non-farm productivity, unit labor costs, and the weekly initial and continuing jobless claims numbers here in the U.S. on Thursday. Manufacturing PMI out of Canada, final manufacturing PMI and ISM manufacturing PMI out of the U.S., construction spending here in the U.S., ISM manufacturing prices. Natty gas, an hour into the market here, and total vehicle sales comes out probably at the close. Monetary base out of Japan, business confidence out of New Zealand, retail sales and PPI out of Australia. Heading into Friday, remember we just had the first look at GDP for the third quarter, which is a big number this last Friday. Here now we've got German import prices, French government budget balance, Swiss retail sales, Spanish, Italian, French, German, and the final European PMI, manufacturing PMI numbers, construction PMI out of the UK. And then we've got employment change and employment rate and trade balance out of Canada, and the employment rate and the non-farm payroll number and the trade balance here in the U.S. Those are two of our big three each month right there, plus that GDP number we already saw. So CPI is the only other one that matters. Factory orders at 10 a.m. on Friday here in the U.S. So a lot of data on Friday, a lot of data throughout the week. Could it lead to some excitement after what we've seen? That would be nice. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading